And we're speaking with Professor Mike Wagner. He's a professor of journalism at UW-Madison and a political scholar. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here.
So first wanted to ask you, what was your immediate reaction to the debate last night?
I thought it was a disappointing, embarrassing disgrace. The election or the debate last night did not help voters understand what kinds of things Joe Biden and Donald Trump would propose to do if they were president of the United States. The debate did give us a sense into the demeanor and temperament of the candidates, and it gave us a sense of their general personal styles, but we really didn't get to hear an uninterrupted answer from Joe Biden almost all night, and Biden interrupted the president a few times as well, but not nearly as much as the other way. And it was just an unfortunate display for what these things could do that can provide some value to voters as they try to decide who they want to be the leader of the free world.
And so how unprecedented was it that we saw all that crosstalk, the talking over each other?
I think we've seen more of it almost within each passing presidential election season. It's kind of interesting how genteel some of the shocking moments from a few elections past look in comparison to what we've seen more recently. So, for example, in the 2000 election, there were days of stories about Al Gore sighing while George W. Bush was talking in the 2000 election, and now we're to the point where a question is asked of one candidate, and the other just begins talking. Or the president harangues the moderator for the questions he's asking and interrupts Vice President Biden while he's talking. There was a time when Vice President Biden called the president a clown. He immediately kind of walked that back, but that's not something that we would have seen in previous debates. And so we've seen more and more of this. President Trump broke a lot of norms in the 2016 debates, but I think he went further on Tuesday than he had in 2016 against Hillary Clinton.
And so we'll hear a clip from the debate now, this one on healthcare.
Big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won. We're saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
It's not what you've said,
But
and it's not what your party has said.
That is simply
your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your party wants to go socialist medicine.
My party is
and
me.
socialist
right
healthcare.
Now, I am
and
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
So it was clear that the president was a dominating figure in the debate last night, and I've seen criticism from both sides, some saying that it was unpresidential, some saying that it outmatched Biden. How much of that was part of the president's playbook going into the debate last night?
I do think part of the president's plan was to see if he could get Joe Biden to go off script, right? Biden clearly came in wanting to make the argument that the president was overmatched by the challenges that he's faced and doesn't have a plan to deal with them. And President Trump, I think, wanted to push Biden off of that message and see if he could make him react out of anger. And for the most part, Biden held it together. He didn't, raise his voice or start yelling at the president in the way that the president and Chris Wallace were raising their voices at each other, in the way that the president raised his voice toward Biden during the debate. And so I think that the longer the debate went, the more it favored Biden. I think the first 20 minutes or so, Biden was a little rocked by the demeanor that President Trump adopted right out of the gate.
And so maybe that's kind of the answer too. Was there any game plan that you anticipate that the vice president's candidate would have had, vice president's campaign would have had going into it?
Yeah, I think that Joe Biden's campaign wants the voters to be thinking about the pandemic and the economy and the plans for the future. There, they can make an argument that most Americans evaluate President Trump unfavorably on the pandemic. The economy had a record negative experience in the last fiscal quarter with all the job loss and economic contraction that has been related to the pandemic. And the president's future plans were not things he articulated in the Republican National Convention because the party didn't put out a new platform. They just adopted the platform they used 4 years ago. And so I think those three things together are what Biden would prefer to be talking about and tried to talk about when he had the chance during the debate.
And so as voters tuned in Wisconsin here, what do you think they heard or what do you think they took away from the debate?
I think that they took away that President Trump sees Joe Biden as an ineffectual career politician. Uh, Trump tried to make those points, I think, a few times during the night when he was at his most effective. I think voters in Wisconsin also probably took away that Joe Biden was the only one who looked into the camera and talked to the voters and asked the voters how they were feeling and how they were doing, and asked them to make judgments about who they wanted to be president based upon how they've been experiencing the last 4 years. And so there was a total kind of a difference in strategy between the Trump and Biden campaigns, not only in how they were talking, but who they were addressing as the primary audience in the debate.
And so I'm really curious for your thoughts. We have two more debates going forward. What changes do you think we will see take place, or what changes would you like to see take place in the next two?
Well, the Presidential Debate Commission says they're at least open to revisiting how they structure the debates, which I think is a smart decision. To me, if I was in charge of running these debates, the moderator would be empowered to control the microphones. And so when it wasn't your turn to talk, your microphone would be off. That would make it so that the interrupting wouldn't matter because the people at home couldn't hear it. I would also get rid of the split screen. Voters probably learn more if they're just watching the person who's talking than watching the other person's reactions. It's good TV to watch those reactions. I don't know that it's good for Republican democracy at the same time. And I think that it will also be useful if the moderator would clearly explain the rules at the beginning and restate those rules if they start getting broken, so that viewers at home can decide if they want to use that information in their evaluation of the candidate.
Speaking with Professor Mike Wagner, thanks so much for joining us.
You bet.
After the debate, Wisconsin surrogates reacted to the unprecedented meeting of the two candidates.
Tell you is that Joe Biden definitely came to this debate ready to talk directly to the American people. He wanted to let folks know that he has a plan and he's ready to tackle, especially this pandemic, COVID-19, on day one. When you think about what we have literally witnessed under this current president and how he has responded, I can honestly tell you that being the Milwaukee County executive, not only did Trump lie, but so many people have died.
You saw strong America First leadership from President Trump, who really showed what 4 years at the helm have given the American people and what's at stake right now. It was a very strong showing from President Trump, and we hope Wisconsinites everywhere saw a true American leader in President Trump yesterday.
This also comes as Trump heads to Wisconsin over the weekend, to two areas of the state that have seen sharp increases in coronavirus cases.
President Trump is excited to stand in front of supporters in every state across the country, and really in Wisconsin, coming up with two events coming up right now. And listen, for those who can't join us in person, you can always join the campaign online and watch the president's events from wherever you are. That's the great thing. Nobody has to be forced to watch something or come to something. They have options available to them, and we take health and safety very seriously. We do temperature checks, provide masks, and provide hand sanitizer, encourage folks to wear those masks as well. The president understands the health and safety, and it's really funny that anybody would ask about that now that good old Sleepy Joe's back on the train across the country. I don't know if that's a solar powered train or what. You know, he wants to eliminate fossil fuels and the such. But he has massive crowds standing around now for the first time. He's got, dozens of people clamored together. And I don't hear anything from the media about whether or not that's appropriate for the Biden campaign.